If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
And we are back. Khalid Mahmoud with you from Command 11. We've got the Command 11 sit rep tonight. I've got my good friend S2 alongside me this evening. S2, how are you?
I'm doing peachy.
Peachy. Okay.
Got your juices going before the show with a little bit of back and forth banter here.
Well, no, it's good. I mean, we should do the warm up. I mean, the warm up is good to get our ideas flowing again. Yeah. Tonight we've got an interesting episode for you. We're going to take you through some of the hot spots on this side of the world and talk to you about how it's affecting the U.S. Because certain mistakes that have been made on this side of the world are now coming home to roost in the U.S. And because of those problems, we're now going to see a lot more unrest in the United States. But we're going to run through the links and lay out the show for you with the basic posts. And then S2 and I go back into a conversation and run through the whole thing. S2, you want to pop the conflicted question?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. For those of you that haven't been with us before, because I'm seeing some unfamiliar names in the chats, we have a conflicted question that comes out of the conflicted deck for the game Conflicted. I will read the question at the beginning of the show, and at the end of near the end of the show, I will read it again. And we want to see your answers in the chat because we want to know what you would do. So here we go. After being taken captive along with his son, Gordon, there's that Gordon guy again. Every time somebody's around Gordon, somebody gets killed.
Somebody gets killed from Gordon, yeah.
Yeah. Gordon began to form a plan to regain his freedom. There were armed men on watch at all times, and the compound he was at was in severe lockdown. If you were in a similar situation, how would you begin to formulate a plan to escape? That's an easy one.
Yeah. This one will be easy. I'm not gonna get battlefield executions from people on this one. So, like we said in the beginning, tonight we're gonna run a different episode for you. Last week we talked about the warfare that was going on in Pakistan. Last night I gave you an update on what was happening here in Pakistan. We are still at war. The Taliban is still attacking us, and we're counting the days up until the 25th when we go to Istanbul and have another meeting with the Taliban leadership. A couple of things that I want to put in everyone's knowledge. It's come to our attention. I said this back 2022, 2023, that the Taliban is scared to death of the TTP, the Taliban Pakistan, because the TTP holds a lot of sway. They are close with Al-Qaeda. They are close with the Islamic State Khorasan province, ISKP. And they use that as a threat against the Taliban. And the Taliban has been threatened now by the TTP leadership that if you take any action against us in Afghanistan, you will have no safety in Afghanistan. So there's a conversation running. This was discussed with us this morning at headquarters. There's a conversation running right now that the Taliban may be giving us a wink and a nudge to go ahead and take out TTP targets inside of Afghanistan because the Taliban is not able to do it themselves. On top of that, we had a delegation go across into Kabul today. And this kind of destroys their narrative of there's no TTP camps there. They were taken to 5 different camps in Afghanistan that were TTP camps that were decimated by Pakistan's airstrikes. So the argument of there is no terrorists on our side of the border, that's gone now. And we're thinking the belief that we have from a military point of view is that the Taliban on the 25th is going to give us a green light and say, go after whatever target you need to go after when it comes to the TTP, when it comes to Hafiz Gul Bahadur group. What I usually do in my tweets is HGBG, that's Hafiz Gul Bahadur group. and clean house because the Taliban is afraid to do it themselves. So don't listen to the rhetoric that you're hearing online from the Taliban, because it's, as usual, full of crap. There are some cards being played in the background. We've got some assets on ground, and they're telling us a lot of things. We may be inserting some of our strike teams into Afghanistan in the next 10, 15 days, maybe before that, to take out some HVTs. So that's the update on Pakistan. We'll keep you updated. If you follow us on X, you get regular updates anyway. So
Khomeini's been pretty vocal today too.
Who?
Khomeini.
Khomeini's gone nuts, man. I think he's been drinking Blue Label. I think he's had.
I've never seen him show up in my feed before. It was like, what?
He did an interview that, I mean, I think he had some Blue Label or some Black Label beforehand, and started making some really weird comments. Like what he said to Trump, well, you think you devastated our nuclear facilities? Think again. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
you want to get
we kind of did. Okay. We kind of did, yeah.
I think he either got a hold of some good Afghani Hindu Kush, or he got a bottle into his hands and he had a few drinks before the interview, because I've never heard him talk like that.
He showed up like 3 times in my feed today, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he gave, I can't remember if it was Al Jazeera who did the interview with him or if it was 60 Minutes that did the interview with him, but he was very vocal. I mean, I was like, wait a minute, this is not how this guy talks usually. Either he's been replaced by a body double, or he's had something to drink, because he doesn't talk like this.
He's been hanging out with Biden.
Maybe Biden's giving some of his cancer drugs. Maybe that's what's got him kicked off.
I don't know. Like I said, that was pretty wild today, and I was like, you got a country the size of a postage stamp threatening the United States. Okay, not a real smart move.
Well, if you really think about it, S2, I mean, when you listen to Khomeini talk, there are 4 targets inside of Iran that if you hit those 4 targets, Iran no longer exists. One is their oil refineries. The other is the nuclear base, the nuclear facility on the Gulf, because that will poison all the water for all the GCC and for Iran. Then they know that as well. And you hit Tehran, game over. There's
Archangel says he's chewing cot.
You might be. That does have some weird effects on people when you do that. Nick, you want to pop up the first one? Okay, so Sarah's been doing some really detailed posts lately. A couple of days ago, she did one on if you're stranded at the airport and 9/11 starts to kick off, what do you need to do? How do you need to react? Today, she put out a what to do when the attack begins. And we're not going to go through and read the whole thing for you because it's very detailed. If you could pop the link into the chat, Nick, then everyone can go ahead and read it themselves. She gives 2 levels of information. Level 1 is what you should do as a normal citizen. And then she goes into quite a bit of detail for law enforcement on what they need to worry about. And a lot of things that Sarah points out, we've covered in significant detail on the different episodes that we've done in the Long War series. But this is a good one. I think Chris is going to turn this into an infographic of some kind, and we're going to pop this out tomorrow as well.
I think all of her stuff is, as of late, has been very informational for people.
We're getting closer, S2. We are getting closer to T-minus 0.
Day zero.
And the closer we get, the more people are going to start talking. And if you notice, there's all kinds of crap happening everywhere else at the same time. It's not like it's just, Afghanistan that's starting to bubble up. Everywhere something's kicking off. I mean, today J.D. Vance arrived in Israel. You've got Witkoff is there. Jared is there. And today J.D. Vance all of a sudden arrived in Israel with the most senior general from Egypt also arrived at the same time J.D. Vance showed up there.
Well, you've also got Brazil and the Colombian presidents running their mouths.
Yep. who was just elected that said that he's not going to invite any of the cartel states to his inauguration?
I thought
Someplace
that
in
was
the Venezuela.
I can't remember. It was me that pointed it out that they just elected their first non-socialist president in
Yeah.
20 years.
Yep. I can't remember who it was, but he put out a statement today saying that I'm not inviting Colombia, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. These three countries I'm not inviting to my inauguration. Those are all narco states, which made me Bolivia. Thank you,
There we
Arthur.
go.
Thank you, Arthur. Arthur pops in with Bolivia. He said he's not going to invite any of these countries to his inauguration, which is a really interesting move. And then there's the CIA plan.
That's an inflection point there.
Yeah, but then there's the CIA plan that they are going to topple the government in Venezuela. I don't know if you've heard about this one yet.
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about that actually, and I personally think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Well, whatever the CIA gets involved, it's for the drugs. It's not for anything else.
Yeah.
But no offense to any intelligence officers from the CIA who may be watching. No offense to you guys. Not all of you are drug dealers, but a good majority of you are. So, but when we heard Venezuela was going to be toppled by the CIA, we went, drugs. That's what they're after, is the drugs. They don't care about anything else.
Well, truthfully, I think what they're doing is they're trying to keep the cartels from using oil as currency.
Yeah, true. Venezuela's got a lot of oil.
That's what's been going back and forth between Colombia and Brazil, is all of that oil coming out of Venezuela. Problem is that oil in Venezuela is shit, has to be highly refined, and the United States is the only country that has the gear to do it. So what are they doing with it?
Yeah, well, they might be getting it and sending it to another country and using that as currency someplace else. We don't know that either.
That could be, but that proves that it's untraceable currency if that's what they're doing.
Yep. Well, if you remember the Nobel Prize winner from Venezuela, she said, "Forget Saudi Arabia, take all of our oil."
Yeah.
So I mean, there is something going on. It's like, it goes back to my statement. There's something kicking off around the world. It's not just one place. It's everywhere. Something's about to happen.
Well, and I've got a feeling too that that's one of the reasons why we were taking back control of the Panama Canal.
Probably
is to prevent that oil from moving through the Panama Canal. Yeah. Where it would go from there is anybody's guess, but my guess is it would probably end up going to the Middle East.
Well, that's the only place it could go. I mean, that's the only refineries that exist that could actually clean that up, is either Saudi or Kuwait or Qatar. Nobody else could clean it up. Even the Yemenis don't have it.
Well, didn't we just hear something about something popping off with Kuwait again?
Yeah, Kuwait has put their eggs in the Taliban's basket. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Nick, if you want to pop the next one up, let's get this stage set so S2 and I can just roll through. Okay. This again, S2, I really don't understand what is going on with the dick measuring between different organizations in the US. Sonia Labasco says, during our briefing, our air marshals has not received a single piece of intelligence from Homeland or from TSA. Think about that. The very people protecting passengers are flying without critical threat information. This, again, my problem here is that the U.S. departments, whether it be FBI, Homeland, TSA, and interestingly enough, Kristi Noem just got 2 private jets so that she could fly around the U.S., so she doesn't have to go through airports anymore, or doesn't have to use commercial flights anymore.
She shouldn't have to.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you are head of Homeland. You should at least have to walk into an airport and make sure security is as at par for civilians.
I would tend to disagree with that statement. I would say that should be delegated to a team to go in and examine the security postures at airports. TSA is nothing more than a bunch of fucking babysitters anyways. They like to go in there and feel up grandmas and everybody else under the sun and do nothing but give people a hard time.
Yep. Yeah,
Sorry.
I've
Sorry for
never
the
been.
people at TSA, but I don't like being stopped every time I walk in there and you telling me that it's a zipper on my crotch that you have to examine.
To all the federal agencies watching, we're going to be apologizing numerous times throughout the broadcast because we're going to offend every single one of you tonight. So please don't take offense, but if you could do your jobs properly, we wouldn't be swearing at you. We wouldn't be cursing you. So far we've hit FBI, we've hit
CIA.
Homeland, and we've hit TSA. So,
And don't forget CIA. We've hit them
the
too.
CIA. I called them drug dealers. Yeah, we've got the CIA as well. So we've gotten 4 out of the group already. Nick, you want to put the next link up? And talking about Kristi Noem again, she has launched Operation River Wall to combat illegal immigration, narco-terrorism, and other criminal activity through the continued deployment of additional forces. This is going to cover 260 miles of the U.S. southern border along the Rio Grande River. Here's my question as to, and I'm just going to ask this point blank. When you've got you've got Customs and Border Patrol there, you've got the U.S. military there, and we've heard the U.S. military say the border is locked down completely. Why do you need to put Homeland out there with a new operation to target the same thing that everyone else is targeting? I mean, are you not just wasting resources on this?
No. I think what River Wall is in the middle, and I think it's a joint military operation where they're actually putting up more of the wall that was supposed to be built under Trump 1.0.
Is that what they're doing? They're building more of the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a joint military operation. I saw something about this flash across my screen the other day. I said, well, it's about damn time.
Shouldn't you control the border first before you build the wall?
I think you need both. I think they've got Overwatch looking over the military while they build those parts of the wall.
Right.
But they've got control of the border now. I mean, as far as I can see, they do. I mean, the numbers are astounding. They've never been this low, ever. In fact, you got people that are trying to get back across the wall or get back across the border because they're leaving the country.
That's good. They're leaving. All these illegals need to leave. Run away, run away, run away.
Oh, dude, I'm going to tell you what. I've seen pickup trucks and cars literally loaded down with tied down furniture on the roof and in the back of the beds and everything. Some of them with Texas plates, and they're heading south, man.
Let them go. I mean, we're fed up. The U.S. has been invaded by 2 things: radical Muslims and radical cartels. And the faster they get out of the country, the better.
Well, the problem that we have on the ground is that you still have the human trafficking aspect of this that's going on within the country. And from what I'm hearing, they're moving families into obscure places like trailer parks and things like that, where they're moving a bunch of them around. They'll put them in a trailer for 6 weeks, and then they'll rotate them out to somewhere else and move another group of people into that same trailer. So those are the reports that we're getting from the wall.
So they're running the safe house model where they keep moving them from one place to another, to another, to another, to another, so no one can be traced.
Right.
What the hell?
I literally got that information from one of my sources on the ground.
No, it makes sense to me because this is what the sleeper cells have been doing as well, is that they move from one house to another after a few months, so that even if someone gets their alert up that, oh, this is going on, the guys have moved on to another place so that they can't be traced.
Yep.
But that makes sense. Nick, you want to put up the next link?
So I want to make one more comment about these airplanes that they purchased for Kristi Noem. So those airplanes actually serve a dual purpose. They serve one purpose to move Coast Guard personnel around as well. The other portion of it is obviously for her to be able to travel around to where she needs to get to go without having to go through the hassles at a hospital and things like that. I mean, we have Air Force One, we have Marine One, we have all of these other vehicles that allow officials to get around. So I do agree that she needs those planes. Well, they already had 2 planes in place. The problem is the planes that they had were 20 to 25 years old. and
Okay.
had reports of numerous safety violations on them. So the planes were just old. They needed to be
Okay.
replaced. The big stink that everybody's making about it is that there was a there was an appropriations in the big beautiful bill for her to get one plane. So
Right.
there was another deal made that money was being borrowed, appropriated from somewhere else. But the problem that they're getting is that let me just get the detail on this here real quick. So they're getting two used Gulfstream G700s
Okay.
that are going to get updated with updated communications equipment because the communications equipment that they had just sucked. It was unreliable, so they needed to have reliable communications equipment and a few other things that they needed as well. So that'll be updated on the planes. So it was
Okay.
supposed to be for the initially the U.S. Coast Guard initially budgeted 50 million in May of 2025 for one replacement Gulfstream V-jet. So I guess they thought they needed two to serve dual purposes. So
Right.
it's not what a lot of people are hearing about is that, oh, they're just buying her two private jets. I mean, that's politician speak for they took our money away and gave it to somebody else.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thanks for the clarification because the way I'd heard it was that they bought her two planes, and I was like, wait a minute.
No,
Secretary of
no.
Homeland Security should be the one touring these airports herself and going, why are there security lapses? Why is TSA so infiltrated? Because with Al Qaeda having and I wouldn't be making such a big deal out of it if Al Qaeda didn't have an aviation part in 9/11 2.0. I'd be like, okay, no big deal. But with the airports and TSA being like you said, strip searchers, um, it makes no sense that Secretary of Homeland Security isn't personally touring these airports. Like Palm Beach International, you had a sniper nest set up where Air Force One was going to be where it would land, and Trump would
Well,
be leaving the plane. I mean, are you kidding?
you had a hunting stand that was set up. It's never been
You and
proven
I
that it
both.
was a sniper stand.
Oh, come on! You and I both know that there's who would be hunting it on top of an airport.
I'm just stating the facts, man.
Yeah, but look, we both know government speak, and government speak for hunting stand is a sniper post because there wouldn't have been a reason for that big of a stink on this if it wasn't a sniper post.
We don't know. I'm just stating facts.
Okay, we'll go with your side of this. Nick, pop up the next link. Okay, S2, you and I are going to get into this later, but Jolani regime has carried out multiple fake raids against ISIS targets to whitewash its own past connection to the organization. If you can slide up and see and show us that picture, I want people to see this picture. Tom Brother is now saying Syria is back on our side. I don't know when Syria wasn't on the U.S. side. The gentleman you see on screen was picked up in a joint coalition ISIS raid. The raid claimed that he was an ISIS member, the guy you see here on screen. It was found later that he was part of Jolani's intelligence division, and they happened to accidentally, on purpose, kill him. And that created a big stink. And because of that, now Barack is again, patting Jolani on the back, saying, "Good job, you're on our side again, and we're all buddy." But S2 and I will get into this once we get through all these links, because I want to get the stage set so we can just run through and do the show discussion base. Nick, you want to pop the next link? Okay. And again, this is what pisses me off. Sarah says, we have people dealing with the enemy who do not understand the enemy. Witkoff told CBS that he had bonded with a Hamas leader. Both men stressed they believed Hamas intended to honor the deal. Hamas has never honored a deal in their entire history. Donald Trump gave Jared and Steve Witkoff permission to go ahead and talk to Hamas directly, which kind of violates the whole concept of the U.S. We do not negotiate with terrorists. But they spoke to them directly, and apparently a bromance started between Steve Witkoff and one of the Hamas leaders. That just kind of bugs me. Because when you start becoming buddy-buddy, kind of like what we have in Afghanistan, where Seb Gorka believes that, the Afghanis are on board and they're moderately good counterterrorism partners. I don't know where he comes up with that one from, but again, we'll get into that once we get through all the links. S2, do you want to add anything before we roll on?
I had something. Well, I was going to say with respect to Hamas not honoring a deal, right after the ceasefire, what was the very first thing they did? They started going through Gaza and executing all of their enemies.
Yep. And then Trump was asked about, and Trump said, "Yeah, we agreed with Hamas that they should be the police force." And I went, "Wait a minute. On one side you want them to disarm, and on the other side you're making them the police force." Just there's so much to talk about tonight, the S2. There's so much.
I said it early. Y'all's politics over there is fucked up.
Let's hit that next link. So, okay, now S2 and I had a conversation about this before the show. If Barack wasn't bad enough, Donald Trump has turned around and appointed Mark Savia, a cannabis dealer from Detroit, as the special envoy to Iraq. And President Trump's statement on Truth Social marks deep understanding of Iraq and of the Iraq-U.S. relationship, and its connections in the region will help advance the interests of the American people through his diplomatic engagement and direct communication with Iraqi officials as special envoy. As special envoy, he will act as a direct representative for U.S. interests in Iraq, coordinating joint initiatives, maintaining diplomatic negotiations, and ensuring transparent communication between the U.S. and Iraqi governments on security, political, and economic priorities. The new envoy was born in Detroit in 1983. His family left Iraq in 1990, so I'm kind of wondering what his ties are to the region and how often he goes back and forth to Iraq, that President Trump has put so much faith in his understanding of Iraqi-U.S. relations. I asked a question at the bottom of that post saying, is this a problem with vetting, or is this just bad decision making where you're honoring people that gave you big donations while you were running the campaign? Now you're honoring them with ambassadorships, which is traditionally the way U.S. presidents work. They pick out a country that is not important, and they send a big donor there, or his son, or whatever it may be, and they make them an ambassador there. But Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kuwait, Qatar, these are all serious countries. You cannot have somebody who doesn't know what they're doing in those countries. So I'm a little bit hesitant on this one. But again, in 5 minutes, S2 and I will roll into this conversation. Nick, you want to hit that last link? And thankfully, the U.S. Appeals Court has given Donald Trump the approval to send the National Guard to Portland. My question here is really simple. If every decision Donald Trump makes is going to be challenged in the courts, what happens when 9/11 2.0 starts? And you don't have time to go to the courts and say, okay, can we send out the military? Can we send out the National Guard? Can we do this? Does the president have to suspend posse comitatus at that point so that he actually has complete power? There's a lot of concerns developing from a geopolitical point of view for us. Because when you look at what the Democrats are doing when they're challenging things like this, where, the National Guard can't be sent to Portland. Portland is a shitstorm right now. So is Chicago. And once the National Guard got to Chicago, things settled down really quick.
Seattle's worse.
And Seattle is coming. Seattle is Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Hamas. All three of them have cells there.
Well, in my opinion, if they're talking about sending them to Portland, they're sending them to the wrong place. Right now, I think between the National Guard and ICE, I think they've got Portland pretty well locked down. I think they need to be sending another contingent to Seattle, and I'll tell you why. There was some intelligence that was leaked out of Seattle that Antifa on January 30th at 7 p.m. are meeting to plan direct action, or black bloc direct action against ICE that evening. It's for their evening of mischief, as they call it. So they're planning on attacking ICE that night.
January 30th or October 30th?
October 30th.
Okay, because you said January 3rd, and I was like, wait a minute, that's a
Sorry.
ways out. I'd heard October. I'd heard that intelligence slip on October 30th. They plan on creating problems before Halloween, and that's. I watched a podcast the other night where they had a bunch of Antifa people on, where they were literally talking about escalation. How do we push harder? And this game is going to get very hot very fast, and it's not good. Steve Bannon on the other day on Tucker Carlson's program was saying that the U.S. is being pushed into a civil war, which you and I have said on numerous occasions, that the U.S. is being pushed into a civil war, and Antifa is a great way to push us into a civil war.
Well, the Civil War is not what I think a lot of people are picturing it in their minds to be. It's not going to be blue against red or any of that. What it's going to end up being is we're in the middle of a communist takeover, and that's what they're fomenting right now, is that civil war, just like what happened with the original Bolshevik Revolution, where there was blood running in the streets.
Yep, that's exactly what I think is going to happen.
And they're positioning the unions to foment an economic strife in the country by having them plan for nationwide strikes across the country during the midterms.
Yep.
So,
no, there's a lot to talk about tonight. Nick, if you want to run that message from Chris, and then we'll kick into the show.
The world is getting more dangerous and unpredictable every day. Your family's safety depends on how prepared you are. For just $7.99 a month or $74.99 a year with 2.5 months free, Survival Dispatch Guardian membership gives you powerful tools and resources to stay ready. When you join, you're automatically enrolled in the Survival Dispatch Emergency Notification System, and you'll get critical alerts fast. You'll also get an invite to our private, high-traffic signal chat where members and experts share breaking intel. Guardians receive all 37 of our Survival Dispatch Insider e-magazines, normally $9.99 each, a $370 value, plus early access to our exclusive instructional videos before they go public. Join thousands of like-minded Americans who refuse to be caught off guard. Become a Survival Dispatch Guardian today at www.survivaldispatch.news/subscribe.
All right. Okay, S2, I'm going to do a baseline, and then we're going to get into this because there's a lot to talk about tonight, from Podesta's plan for civil war to everything happening in the Middle East, to the Al-Qaeda operatives, to the ISIS operatives inside the U.S. The FBI caught one in Louisiana. It was part of October 7th, which is amazing. The FBI caught somebody.
Did they actually catch somebody, or was it the police and they took credit for it?
I don't know. See, this is the problem. Yeah, the FBI says, well, we got him. I mean, Kash Patel the other day was saying that we got so many children that were being trafficked off the streets, and nobody knows whether you actually did or not, whether it was you or whether it was the police or whether it was the civilian force. Kash Patel is taking credit for everything. And now Kash Patel is going to be pissed off at us too. He's taking credit for everything. Everything that happens in America good is Kash Patel's. It's because of Kash Patel. And if it happens bad, it's because of everybody. It's because of the police forces. But I'm surprised. Let me run through this. We've got hotspots in the Middle East. Afghanistan, we've got pretty well controlled from the Pakistan side. They are scared to death of what could happen. Today we did a rumor intelligence release on the Command 11 X handle. We have been tracking for the past 11 days 8 flights that came in from Oman. The Omani Air Force has been flying in military equipment to the Taliban over the past 11 days. And they're flying into Kabul. They're flying into what used to be Kandahar airfield, which has now been blown up. But I'm sure they found another place to land that plane. And they're also flying in up in the north. And I'm thinking it's Kunduz, someplace in that area where they're flying in, because there's a major military base up there as well. What we see is the Taliban is arming up. Friday, They had every mosque in Afghanistan issue a jihad call against Pakistan. They are making threats that they are ready for an attack, and they're ready to attack Pakistan as well. But thus far, all of the attacks that have happened inside Pakistan have all been the TTP or factions of the TTP. But we have been spilling the blood and washing the streets as we've been going along. I think we are now somewhere in the past 3 or 4 days. We've killed 70, 75 terrorists in the past 3 or 4 days, and we're not stopping. We're anywhere in the tribal areas where we know they are, we're taking them out. So Pakistan's pretty well controlled. But the problem that we're seeing right now, one, Iran, they're getting a little bit feisty again. And S2 and I will get into Iran because there's a lot to talk about there. Hamas has stayed feisty, even with the peace deal that Trump has negotiated, which is why I think Steve Witkoff, Jared, and JD Vance and the general from Egypt are now in Israel because Hamas is out of control and they need a way to bring them back under control without punishing the people of Gaza again. Then you've got Europe about to kick off again. The number of drones that have been spotted throughout Europe, number of airports that have been closed for numerous hours because drones have been in the air and there's still no defense to the drones. We'll talk about that as well. Antifa has a very large presence in Europe and in Australia, which we saw on No King's Day. In Australia, I think we saw the first Antifa protest on No King's Day. We also saw one in Canada. So the idea that there is no such thing as Antifa needs to disappear. And all these lefties that are saying there's no such thing, they need to have their brains washed out because they have no clue what they're talking about.
I'll give you a hint about that. Almost every single Antifa website that you go to out there has a .org behind it. So if they're not organizations, then what does the .org stand for?
Yeah, what's the .org stand for? Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then we'll bring it stateside. We'll talk about the southern border. We'll talk about the northern border. We'll talk about the cartels. We'll talk about what Al Qaeda and Islamic State are doing inside of the United States right now, in conjunction with the cartels, with Antifa, with the IRGC. There's a lot going on. So the reason I wanted to get all the links out in the very beginning was to give us the table to run through all of this. So S2, we're going to leave Afghanistan alone because that mess has been handled. Let's talk about Iran and Khomeini's interview and how loose he got with his mouth, because Israel and the US have both been building up military hardware in the Middle East, and there's no doubt that Iran's going to get hit again. Is Khomeini trying to invite the US and Israel to strike again? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, living on this side of the world, what Iran is doing right now makes absolutely no sense to us.
Khomeini is being very irrational at the moment, in my opinion. I said this earlier. A country the size of a postage stamp threatening the United States that could turn that place into a mirror. Just not a good idea to poke that bear.
No.
You know, I think what Khomeini's really trying to tell us is not so much as trying to threaten us, even though that's what he's openly doing, is telling them we should not intervene in any of this. And to an extent, I think he's right. I think we need to keep our nose in our own business for a change. And that's really what the message I think that he's trying to send. We spent way too much blood and money interfering in what's been going on over there. And I think what the United States doesn't understand, like you and I discussed earlier, was they don't understand that the Middle East is all about tribal relationships. They either like each other or they hate each other.
Yep.
They will, during times of trouble, they will come together and stand against an enemy. They'll put their differences aside, much as what we've been seeing going on with the whole 9/11 2.0 thing. We're seeing all of these tribal factions of these terrorist organizations coming together because they don't like us. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the same thing that goes on over there, and that's where the United States is underestimating the political. They think it's geopolitical over there, and it's not. It's
It's
tribe.
tribal.
It's actually local political.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, that the tribes would much rather kill each other than kill anybody else. But if it's that mentality that, you know, you can have a fight inside your own house, but if someone comes and bangs on your door, you all become one, and you'll
Yeah.
fight the enemy that's at the door. But Khomeini has never been this hostile towards the U.S. I mean, even back when Israel was getting ready to start bombing, and Trump was saying, "I'm going to use bunker busters." Even then, Khomeini wasn't talking as irrationally as he is right now.
I there's got to be something that they think they have that is allowing them to be this brash.
Well,
Honestly,
look, what we know is that the Russians have given them S-21 MiG fighters. The Iranian government, I'm sorry, not the Iranian government, the IRGC has purchased a large number of fighter planes in case Israel attacks again. Um, and because they couldn't supply the airplanes quick enough, Russia turned around and handed them couple fleets, a couple squadrons of MiG-21s or MiG-29s. I can't remember which one it was, and said you can use these if anything starts to happen. But China's also supplying a lot to Iran lately. I don't know if you've seen how many flights have been flying into Iran with military equipment in them, from China. I don't understand. There's
question is, do they know
Afghanistan.
how to use any of this stuff they're getting? And
Yeah,
if
but
it's
see,
and if it's all small, and if the majority of what they're getting is all small arms, are they planning to do another ground offensive against Israel, or
well,
are they
that'd be
going
the
to give it, or are they
dumb.
going to supply the Taliban with it and let the Taliban do the dirty work?
Well, if you remember during the 12-day war that happened in January between Israel and Iran, the Taliban and the Indians worked with Israel against Iran. They were blowing up their drone facilities. They were giving coordinates to Israel of where missile silos were. So you can't really trust the Taliban. I mean, that's obvious. And I don't. One side, the Taliban is getting very confident in being able to fight Pakistan. On the other side, Iran is getting very confident in fighting the U.S. And I don't know what in the hell is making them so confident, because everything we've seen on our side, all the intelligence has come through to us on the Iran side, has not given us anything that makes us go, yeah, there's a reason for them to be confident. We're all going, he's stupid. He was either drunk or he was high when he was giving that interview, because there's nothing that you've gotten in the past 20, 30 days that makes you openly threaten the US, because the US really, it's not a half-hour job for the US to flatten Iran.
No, unless there's something already here in the United States that they could kick off, which we know there's something here.
Well, I'm gonna, if we play off that side and work off the intelligence that we got, that IRGC is pumping money into the cartels, and the cartels are pumping money into Antifa. It's still a limited scale war. It's still a low intensity conflict that Antifa could carry out. They cannot do the kind of damage the U.S. can do to Iran. I mean, B-2 bombers fly over top, a few F-16s, a few F-18s come over the top. You don't even need to use anything really serious on Iran. You could decimate them in a matter of an hour, half hour. But the threat, what you're saying, something back in the U.S., is the IRGC plan that they said would kick off in October. That's a possibility, but I don't think that Iran is that stupid to threaten the U.S. that openly.
Well, they'll have plausible deniability if they're pumping money. If they're pumping money into the cartels, and the cartels in turn are pumping money into Antifa, then they have their plausible deniability working through two sets of proxies.
Yeah, but I mean, U.S. intelligence will trace it back. I mean, it's not that it hasn't been said once; it's been said numerous times, and it's not like Iran doesn't have a plot to avenge Qasem Soleimani's death. Manpads were moved into the U.S. for that reason alone, was to take out to assassinate Donald Trump, because of the Qasem Soleimani. But that plan has been in place for almost, what, 8 years now?
Yeah, and they've never made good on it.
So I mean, my side is wondering what has got Iran so full of it. I know that Iran has announced they're going to pump a lot more weaponry into Yemen to bolster the Houthis, but that only means that you can target carrier ships, merchant ships, but maybe Israel. But you still leave yourself wide open. Everyone knows that the Houthis are working for the IRGC. So at the end of the day, it comes right back to Iran again.
Well, and the same thing with Yemen. You can go in there and bomb the shit out of Yemen too.
Which they've done, which the
Yeah.
U.S. has done on a number of occasions. But I don't understand, because if we look at the old axis of resistance that Soleimani put together, Hezbollah is gone, Hamas is devastated. The Houthis, other than firing missiles and drones from Aden all the way towards Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, they really don't have anything else to work with. Iran can't do anything themselves. I mean, Iran's been talking about a missile silo. And I think we put up pictures on the Command 11 X handle, pictures of the new missile silo, missile bunker that they are building in Iran. But when we have the pictures, you've got to figure that U.S. intelligence has them, that Mossad has them, Shin Bet has them. It's going to be targeted. So
Well,
where's this coming from?
Well, the post that I saw about Khomeini today on X, he was talking about where does the U.S. get off dictating our nuclear policy? And
Yeah.
I've said for a long time, I think Iran already has a nuclear missile. I think they've already got it.
You think
And
so?
I've said this for a long time. And it's the only reason, it's the only thing that I can think that is making them this confident to say that they could go after Israel if they wanted to, or they could go after the United States.
Yeah, but question. I mean, just a simple question. If you fire a nuclear missile at Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, you are going to get wiped off the planet. Iran is going to cease to exist.
Well, that's why I said they're acting very irrationally at the moment, and it doesn't make any sense as to why.
That's the thing we don't understand. Because I know Iran has been trying for a long time to get nuclear capable. They were very close at one point, but the triggers didn't work. Otherwise, they would already have a nuclear weapon. That was back during the Obama administration. That they had gotten triggers from someone, but the triggers ended up not working, so that they weren't able to go nuclear. Even the nuclear option. I mean, that's the end of Iran. I mean, if they were to launch a nuclear missile at Israel, Iran would get wiped out. The U.S. wouldn't even hesitate.
I guess they want their 72 virgins.
Unbelievable. No, if you still had your axis of resistance, I would believe that you had some level of confidence to say these things. But I don't know now.
Like I said, I believe that's what's giving them this certain level of false confidence that they could pull any of this off. Because at most, my estimate would be they only have one missile. They probably don't have multiples.
So you think they only have one nuclear warhead?
Yeah.
That's a big gamble to take.
Well, I mean, you look at how many attempts that they have made to get the fissionable material, and how many times it's failed. So the odds are in favor that they managed to get a hold of fissionable material and were able to refine it into weapons grade at some point. I mean, it's somewhere if you've done it 10 times, you're able to get something through out of those 1 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Well, there's one option I can give you. There's one option I can give you. Back in the days of Bin Laden, before 9/11 1.0 happened, there were some Pakistani physicists that were taken to Tora Bora to meet Bin Laden, and they wanted Bin Laden wanted them to explain if they could build a nuclear weapon. And the Pakistani physicist said to them, and I've actually spoken to one of the guys who was actually there. the Pakistani physicist said that, we can build the missile, we can build the nuclear weapon for you, but where are you going to get fissionable nuclear materials? And bin Laden very calmly, very coldly turned around and said, who says we don't have it already? So with the ties between the Taliban, and this is something we've been watching for a while, with the ties between the Taliban and between Iran, if the Taliban through Al-Qaeda has given Iran nuclear material, that could be true, what you're saying, that they have a nuclear warhead. But
Well,
again, that's a lot of ifs and buts.
I'm playing in fantasy land here for a minute, but they always have to tell us what they're going to do through movies, okay?
Yep.
And the Sum of All Fears was a prime example of how this could be made to happen.
Yep.
Ukraine, the whole predicate, and I'm going clear across the pond in the other direction at this point. The whole predicate behind this whole Ukraine thing was, I think it was that Russia was allowed to annex Crimea if Ukraine would divest itself of all of the nuclear weapons that it had obtained during the Cold War. Where did those weapons go?
Yeah, that's the big question. That's the big question. There's too many questions in the air right now, because we know that that Al Qaeda had scientists working on a dirty bomb, a nuclear bomb. I know directly from the physicists that went from Pakistan. They said it flat out that bin Laden literally just turned around very calmly and coolly said, who says we don't have it already? I just need an engineer. And the other reason I bring that up is Afia Siddiqui, the prisoner of Bagram, which everyone has thrown a fit about. She's a nuclear physicist. And the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are willing to trade anybody to get her released, which makes me think they might have nuclear materials.
Where is she being released from?
She is in a Texas prison right now.
Okay.
She's been sentenced to life. But with all the deals that are being made to get Taliban operatives and Al-Qaeda operatives released from U.S. custody, I know that on 3 occasions now, they put Afia Siddiqui's name forward. That give us Afia, we'll give you this, but give us Afia.
That would be a no.
Yeah, that would be a no in a big way. And the U.S. has refused each time, thankfully. But the Taliban and Al-Qaeda have not backed off from this claim, from this request. And that gives me more reason for pause, because she is a nuclear physicist. She was trained and educated in the U.S., became a jihadi in the U.S., came back to Pakistan, divorced her husband, brought her 3 children back to Pakistan, married Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, married his nephew, and then tried to infiltrate Bagram, is what the story is. And then she was captured at Bagram, and trial after trial after trial after trial. Now she's serving a life sentence. But the reason that they're pushing for her is because she's a nuclear physicist.
Yeah, that further leads me to believe that they've had this material for a long time. And whether or not they're able to refine it, because we would know if they've started their refineries back up again.
Yep.
And just like we did with Stuxnet, we would find another way to take them out, either by kinetic or by cyber attack, one way or the other.
Yep.
They probably have those systems air gapped by now. But this appearance of overconfidence, I don't think is necessarily overconfidence. I think it's just the ravings of a lunatic at this point.
Yeah. Well,
they have something, but we don't know what it is. We probably don't know where it is, and we don't know that they have had the capability to refine it yet.
Yeah, that's the fear, because we've never seen. Look, we know for a fact that Khomeini does not speak for the military. Khomeini is just, a leader. He's a mullah leader. He's not really the government. The government is the IRGC. And the IRGC does not come on TV and talk about what they have and what they don't have. But the level that he went to, I've never seen in all the years he's been leading the regime in Iran. I've never heard Khomeini talk like that. And that made me take pause and go, wait a minute, something's wrong. something's very wrong.
I sent him back a response today. He probably didn't like.
Let's move towards Israel. What? Okay, look, I don't think this peace deal is going to hold. Let's be honest about that. The peace deal is not going to hold.
It's already broke. It's already
Oh,
broke.
it was broken within hours after it was signed. I mean, Netanyahu didn't even sign the peace deal. I don't know if you know that or not, but Netanyahu didn't sign the peace deal.
Yeah, I mentioned that to you last time we were on.
Yeah, but I think Israel didn't have any doubt this wasn't going to happen.
It never does.
Well, you can't trust Hamas. At the end of the day, you cannot trust Hamas.
No, I mean, it's the same with any terrorist organization. They never agree. They never honor their peace deals.
No.
They don't want peace. They want what they want, and that's to have their little caliphate.
Yep.
And if they don't get it, they throw temper tantrums.
Yep, that's what the Taliban's doing right now. Even with the Doha peace deal, I mean, they've walked away from every single condition of the Doha peace deal. And the American, and just a quick touch. Why is the bill to stop funding the Taliban stuck in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee? Why can they not clear it from Senate? I mean, why does America want to keep paying the Taliban?
I saw something about this the other day dealing with somebody in our Senate who was on the Council of Foreign Relations. I can't remember what it was right off the top of my head, but it was like, okay, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think is, oh yeah, CIA. What do they need in Afghanistan? Oh yeah, poppies.
Yeah, but CIA can continue. I mean, CIA runs black bag operations all the time. They don't need, you know, to have the U.S. government paying the Taliban. They can keep doing whatever they want to do under the table. Why is the U.S. government not stopping something that Donald Trump wanted to stop at the very beginning of his presidency? I mean, he came in, signed an executive order saying stop funding the Taliban, and it's now been we're now 8 months in, 9 months into the Trump administration.
9 months. There's
And-
somebody within the Council of Foreign Relations that is putting the gumming up the works with this thing. It's just like they said they were going to do at the beginning of his, or actually before he was elected again, that they were going to do everything that they could do to slow him down.
Yeah.
Because delay is a denial. So he doesn't get to do what he needs to do to bring peace around the world, because we have people that we will never know. We have agencies within our government that we will never know that don't want this.
Yeah.
And the Council of Foreign Relations is one of those organizations that doesn't want peace.
Council of Foreign Relations, RAND, these are two organizations that if you don't wipe out, it's going to screw up American foreign policy for decades to come.
Oh, it's more than that. It's more than that. There's
those are two public ones. I mean, it's like when you look at the UK, Chatham House is the public arm of MI5 and MI6. Everyone knows that. And CIA does the same thing. Council of Foreign Relations and RAND Corporation are the front men for the CIA. They are writing policy. They are writing decisions. They're helping the CIA develop everything they want to develop. Some of it is classified. Some of it is public. But I agree with you that there are forces inside the U.S. government that are not allowing this to happen, just like they're not allowing Muslim Brotherhood to be banned as a foreign terror organization. But let's come back to Israel. That's where we started this conversation from. I don't know if you saw, like, the Netanyahu today put out a statement saying that we will not allow Turkey and Qatar to be part of the peacekeeping force, which I was really thankful with, because those were the two countries that screwed us with the Taliban. What do you think Netanyahu's reason is for saying no to Qatar and no to Turkey? Because he's agreed to Pakistan. Pakistan going in as a part of the peacekeeping force in Gaza, Netanyahu's agreed to, but he's said no to Turkey and to Qatar.
Well, Erdogan has already said that he was going to side with forget who it was now. He was going to side with the Taliban and go to war with Israel. So he's already said that. So how can you trust somebody to be part of a peacekeeping force who basically said, "Yeah, we're going to help them kill you." As far as the other one goes, I don't think. I just think it's just from a standpoint that there is a level of distrust between with what Jolani's doing, and I have thoughts on what Jolani's doing. I just think there's just not a level of trust there for that.
Well, you know that Qatar funds Hamas, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
All their funding, all of their leaders are sitting in Qatar, which is, I mean, that was the reason why I thought he was against Qatar, because all of your funding is coming from there. All of their leadership is sitting in Qatar. Erdogan has flat out offered, when Qatar was saying we want Hamas to leave, Erdogan turned around and said, "Come to Turkey. We'll take you here. Come here." Which
While he's
makes
at
me
it,
go,
why didn't he take the Palestinians while he's at it?
they won't do that. Jordan did that, and Jordan kicked them back out, said, "No, no, 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 we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again." But let's swing around from Israel and come to Syria, because I know you've got an interesting point of view compared to where I come from on this. I still think Jelani is playing from the bottom of the deck. I was surprised. I was very interested in the way you presented the argument before the show. So I'm going to hand the mic to you and let you go ahead and share your thought on this one.
So my opinion on Syria appearing to align with American interests, it would appear to me that Jelani may be playing both sides of the fence. He's hedging his bets. He saw what the United States did to the Mujahideen when Russia came in and invaded Afghanistan. The United States came in, gave them weapons, advanced weaponry to fight the Russians. They fought the Russians off, and then we cut them off. And fast forward past that point, Al Qaeda was born out of that hatred, because Al Qaeda basically was Mujahideen.
Yep.
And I think that he's wanting to align with U.S. interests, but at the same time, he's not putting his eggs in one basket. So I think one of the greatest olive branches that he could extend forward, if he really wanted us to trust him, was to boot Hamas out of Qatar.
Can he do that? Does he have the power to do that?
He's the president. He's a president. Sure.
No, he's the president of Syria. Qatar and Syria.
I'm sorry. I don't know that he could do that. I'm sure that the close proximity between Qatar and Syria, I'm sure that some sort of an agreement could be made to boot Hamas out of Qatar.
Right.
I mean, Qatar's, again, a country the size of a postage stamp.
Yeah, even smaller. Even smaller than a postage stamp.
Syria would have no problem flattening Qatar in a moment. No problem.
Yeah.
You get rid of them, you boot them out. The problem is, where does Hamas go beyond that? And yeah.
I mean, Erdogan's on record saying come to Turkey.
But what other problems does that create? Now we don't know where they are. We can't keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm going to throw two things into your conversation, and I want to hear where you come on this. Last week, Jelani was in Russia meeting with Putin. He put three things in front of President Putin in Russia. He said, number one, we want military equipment from Russia. We need to rebuild our military, and we want Russians equipment, which is kind of a slap in the face to America, that when the U.S. is standing so fully behind you, you're buying weapons from Russia. The second thing he put forward was that we want you to come back and take these, I think it's 5 or 7 bases inside of Syria that were, during the Assad regime, they were occupied by the Russians. He asked them to come back again. Now, as it stands right now, they've agreed to come back to 2. The third point, which is the big point where I got stuck, was he said to President Putin that we want you to come back and occupy the Golan Heights and fight Israel for us and get Golan back. And you can sit there as long as you want. You can put a base there and be the buffer between us and Israel, but come and fight Israel for us. with those three additional things added into your conversation, where do you think Syria is headed? Because I don't trust Syria. I don't trust Jelani. And I don't know if it's because he's a terrorist or because he's just not trustworthy.
I see Jelani is trying to be the president. He's trying to do the diplomatic game right now. And one of the things that I think with inviting Russia back to occupy bases there, I think that's a matter of protection.
From whom?
Well, let's just play what if for a minute here.
Yeah.
What if Jelani has come around and is indeed aligned with U.S. interests?
Okay.
Who would that anger? If Jelani started helping us, who would that anger?
Turkey, Russia, Europe,
Well,
NATO.
So, okay, let's take that on a scale of 1 to 10 out of all of those that you just mentioned. Who you think would be the most angry?
Russia would be the most angry
Why?
because that's their home base. I mean, that was their base for Eastern Europe. Syria was literally Russia's base for Eastern Europe.
Okay. Do you think that Russia is in some way aligned with the US right now?
Yeah, see, that's where I'm stuck because Putin and Trump go back and forth, and they have very interesting conversations. And Trump says we're giving tomahawks to the UK to the Ukrainians, then says I'm not giving them after he speaks to Putin. There's something going on between Trump and Putin, and I just don't know what it is because there is some kind of a play there, but I just can't figure out what the play is between Russia and the US right now.
Well, I don't think that Russia would be more angry over the if Jelani started helping the US. If there is an alignment going on between Russia and the United States, then that kind of removes that piece from the chessboard. So
Yeah, but
who's
that's
left?
a big if.
Well, as I said, we're playing what if.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, then that removes that piece from the chessboard. Who's left? Turkey.
Turkey, of course. Turkey wants to
If
reestablish the Ottoman Empire. That's their stated goal.
if Turkey were to retaliate against Jelani for cooperating with the United States, do you think that they would need some sort of protection, or at least something to bolster their protection, which would be Russia being there in their country, being able to respond to a threat?
True, but Turkey has already bombed Syria a couple times. I think Turkey's also supporting a faction inside of Syria as well.
But Russia's not back on their soil yet. Russia would be a deterrent.
True, but then okay, since we're playing what if, what if Jolani is going to be used against Hezbollah instead of involving Israel? Because Jelani has said a couple times before he took power, he had said a couple times that if you give me the weaponry, I will take Hezbollah out in Lebanon.
Well, yeah, he's been interdicting arms shipments to Hezbollah in Lebanon. He's already been doing that, so that's a U.S. interest right there. That's an Israeli interest, actually.
That's an Israeli interest, and that was part of the Israeli security negotiation that was going on between Syria and Israel. Yeah. That you don't allow weapons to come through from Iran into Lebanon or into Gaza.
So that leaves we've come down to we've gotten rid of the two what ifs. Now we come down to the third what ifs. How significant is Golan Heights to Israel in the first place?
Well, that's the thing I don't understand is that I know Golan Heights gives them a very high position where they can see Lebanon, they can see Syria, they can see pretty much everything they want. It's like Bagram in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing, which is why it makes sense to me that Israel wants it. But I don't understand why Jelani's playing. On one side, you've got a negotiation going on with Israel for a security arrangement. On the other side, you're talking to the Russians and saying, well, we want you to come back and take Golan Heights back for us, which is where, the fork gets stuck in the tire. And I go, wait a minute, why is he doing that?
like I said, I think what we've been discussing tonight, there are things going on behind the scenes. There are deals being made to fortify the countries that are willing to help us. Because let's face it, even Syria is at risk of being bombed into oblivion.
Yep,
And if we
without
have those, and if we have those that protection there and those deterrents there, then we pretty much stop the caliphate in its tracks.
yeah, because if Erdogan is successful in expanding the Ottoman Empire, the caliphate has its footing. Because you've already got Mozambique, you've got Somalia, you've got Afghanistan, you've got Syria, and if Turkey rolls forward, that's the caliphate. That the Ottoman Empire will reestablish the caliphate.
hmm That's from my logical standpoint and putting all of those dots and connecting those dots together. That's kind of what I see going on here. Now, whether or not at this point Jelani can be trusted, he may be
That's
he may be the intermediary between Russia and the US at this point in that region.
I wouldn't trust him to be an intermediary between the U.S. and Russia. That I wouldn't trust, because Trump's got a better
Well,
relationship with Putin than Jelani will ever have.
well, question for you. Uh, if Jelani, if he wanted to establish this relationship with Russia,
Mhm.
why would he do it out in the open? Why would he do it out in the open where the United States could see what he's doing?
Well, Russia and Syria have had relationships for God knows how many years. I mean, going back to Hafiz al-Assad, their relationship is from back then. So for them to for Jelani to invite Russia to come back is not an unheard of from a Syrian point of view. They already have the bases. They've already worked there. They've already, had operations there. They were very close with the government. So Russia coming back makes a lot more sense than, for example, inviting the U.S. to set up a base there. It's less threatening as well to have the Russians come back, because for Russia, Syria was their attack point for Eastern Europe. So if Eastern Europe got out of control and a war were to begin to start, they were going to use Syria to attack Eastern Europe. So I mean, your what if makes sense to me on one side, but then I get stuck on the Russian side, that if you're bringing the Russians back, then the game changes, and the game changes in a way where the what if doesn't work anymore,
No,
because
like I
Irani's
said,
not trusted.
I see the Golan Heights as being inconsequential at this point, as far as those three talking points. But
Hmm.
the relationship that I see occurring between the United States and Russia, and the relationship that's happening between well, it was already there with the Russians, but with the alliance of Syria with U.S. interests, you start seeing this confluence of events happening that suggests there is an alliance being formed.
Okay, question, because this is something that I've been thinking about. With the U.S. getting control of that corridor between Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, how much does that affect the relationship, that because the corridor they're saying is a good strike point if the U.S. decides to hit Iran again, and that could be a permanent base. Um, is that part of what Jelani is looking at? Is that the U.S. You've got one base in Qatar, you've got another base in Kuwait, you've got another base in Saudi Arabia, and then if you put another one between Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, you basically got Syria completely controlled. Um,
I would say fortified. That's the word I would use.
Well, fortified, controlled. The problem is who's sitting in the chair. Because with
Doesn't
Jelani,
matter.
again, my problem is with Jelani. It's not with Syria. My problem is with Jelani.
It doesn't matter who's sitting in the chair, because you have two of the major world superpowers sitting there around you, surrounding Syria, where they could implode on you at any minute if they wanted to.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Jelani is scared shitless right now. That's why he's doing
Yeah,
what he's doing.
yeah. Well, ISIS has an open death threat on him. They've got an open
hmm
hit on him, which is part of the reason why I think coalition forces are carrying out these drone strikes on ISIS in Syria, because they're trying to take out a lot of the threat that Jelani has. But again, I come back to the same argument as dude. Jelani is a terrorist. He's always been a terrorist. He'll always be a terrorist. how do you put your eggs in the basket with him and say, yeah, this is somebody we can trust? I mean, Barack is head over heels for him. I mean, the bromance between the two of them is just unbelievable.
I don't have an answer for that because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're in this
Because,
wait and see posture at this point.
yeah. And that's the fear, because even Jolani, when he first came into power, he gave an interview to Syrian television. He said, they asked him, what about all these minorities that are being killed in Syria? And Jolani turned around and said, well, 2-3 years this is going to go on. I can't really stop it. And that really shocked me, that if you have control and HTS is as strong as an organization as you say it is, how can you not stop the minority killings that are going on? I mean, even in his own prisons, the number of Alwatis that are being killed during torture in the Jolani prisons is just rising every single day. I think in the past week, it's 15 or 20 have been killed in the prisons from torture.
I don't know. Maybe the world's waking up to the fact that we're all screwed, or we've all been getting screwed.
Look, I don't want to be like the doomsday guy, but we're headed towards something really major right now, because the Middle East is completely in flux right now. The Middle East is completely in flux. You've got too many powers playing too many games in the Middle East, and chess cannot be played in the Middle East because, as you've said and as I've said, it is a tribal war. It is not, country. It's not nation state versus nation state. This is tribal versus tribal. And there are so many tribal groups inside of every country that creating a civil war in any country in the Middle East is very easy.
Oh yeah, all you gotta do is say that, hey, Joe from this tribe over here said this about your mama over here in this tribe.
Yep, and it's war, and like the Bedouins. Oh my God, the most violent tribe of all is the Bedouins, and they spread from Saudi Arabia all the way to Syria. That's a huge section of land for the one tribal group to control. Then you've got then you've got the Kurds. The Kurds are being marginalized.
Which
and
ones?
The ones in Iraq,
Okay.
because
So
you've got some in
that's
Iraq, you've got some in Syria.
yeah, I was gonna say they're talking about merging the Kurds in Syria with the Syrian army now.
Yeah, but that's
So
also, whether, the jihadi groups that have been put in leadership in the Syrian army, whether they'll accept it or not. That's the reason the SDF refuses to join, because they say they're all jihadis. They're not Syrians. They're all people that have been brought from other countries that have jihadi backgrounds and are jihadis to the core. And they're now leading divisions and battalions of the Syrian army, and we're not going to join jihadis.
I don't know. Maybe they need a Pete Hegseth over there to tell them you're going to do this or else.
Maybe because, see, my problem when I look at the Middle East right now, I don't see stability anywhere. I mean, one pin being pulled in the wrong country and it goes boom, and the whole Middle East is at war. I go back to a book.
It's all a big Jenga game.
Yeah, because I go back to a book that it's not a book. There was an article written called "Blood Borders" by a retired lieutenant colonel, where he redrew the entire Middle East map. And the way he redrew it is the way the Middle East is breaking up right now. And if anyone looks at the map that he drew, you are literally seeing, because he said, we'll take all the Kurds from Iraq and from Syria and from everywhere else, and we'll create a Kurdistan. We'll break Iran into 3 pieces: Shia Iran, Sunni Iran, and Kurdistani Iran. And we'll pull all of them out, which means you'll break everybody in, along their tribal borders, so that there won't be that influx of warfare between the two of them.
So here's a crazy question. With everything that's happening in the United States right now and everything that's happening in the Middle East, do you see a parallel happening there where everything's breaking into tribal?
Yep, without doubt. Because look, when you look at, because I watch the US very closely, the US is doing the same thing. You have cartels, you have radical left, you have the Democrats funding it, So let's look at it from like a counterterrorism point of view. You have the Democrats that are the insurgent force. They are funding different fighters in different factions in different states to overthrow the government that they don't like. And they're not even looking at an election as being the way to do it. They're going, we lost the election. The latest poll I saw was if the midterm election was to be held today, it would be 54% Republican and 46% Democrat would carry the midterms, which means everything stays at a stalemate. So I think the Democrats have decided that the only way we are going to be able to do anything is taking the Podesta plan and pushing the U.S. into a civil war. Once the U.S. goes into a civil war, what the Democrats don't realize is the word civil war is very easy to say. The actual concept of a civil war is not easy to control. And you want proof of that? Come look at the Middle East, because the Middle East has constantly been in a state of civil war, whether it be country against country, tribal against tribal, whatever you want to look at. The Middle East has been at a constant civil war. Now you want to create that same thing in the U.S. and you see all the pieces going into place. Portland, Chicago, Seattle.
They have another problem too, what they don't understand is that if this is a communist takeover we're in the middle of, and I believe it is, that the first people they come after are the politicians.
Yep.
The useless idiots that are out on the street right now, that would be the Antifa and the other nut jobs out there on SSRIs and things like that. They'll scatter them to the countryside just like Mao did in China.
Yeah.
And they'll starve them to death.
Yep.
And it's the same playbook throughout history that's being repeated right now. And they and they better wake up to it.
Well, they're not going to wake up to it, S2. I mean, look, we've spent, I think, 50 plus episodes so far talking about this, and everything's going on just like they planned it. And before the show, I said it to you, the number of things that we see happen, we talked about this, I don't know how many episodes ago, this was going to happen. This was going to happen. This was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's asleep to it. Like, I'll give you another one. Sarah today put out a tweet saying, well, we expected this. We thought this was going to happen, that what happened in Afghanistan with the various terror groups getting Afghani passports, Jelani has started in Syria. That happened almost 3 weeks ago when Jelani was giving terrorists not only passports, but property as well. The houses they had cleared from Christians, Druze, Alwati, those were being handed over to the terrorists along with their passports. Then those terrorists were taking those Syrian passports and going to Uzbekistan or Tajikistan, changing the name, getting a new passport, flying to Libya. In Libya, they were changing the name, getting a Libyan passport, and flying into the West, whether it be Europe or whether it be into the US. So the game that's going on
just like
is the exact same thing that's in the US.
It's just like the Afghans did in Pakistan.
Yep. Buy your passport. I mean, I know there was a time where you could buy a Pakistani ID card, which without a Pakistani ID card, you can't open a bank account. You can't get a passport. You could buy a Pakistani ID card from anywhere from $500 all the way up to $2,000. And then buying a passport was in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000. And we would all just sit back and go, why are you selling it? Why are you selling our passports? At the end of the day, it's Pakistan that takes the shit. It's not the Afghanis, it's the Pakistanis that take the shit. And I'll do the correlation. All of the sex crimes that happen in the UK, the grooming gangs,
mm-hmm.
when they did a study into figuring out what the nationalities were, 78% were Afghani. They had no at all.
We talked about on the last show.
Yep. So I mean, the model is following, and it's the same thing in the U.S. with all the illegals coming in. You took 4 years of government and facilitated every single illegal to come in. You changed the law so that you can have sanctuary cities, which never existed in the U.S. before. you have done the exact same thing there that has happened in the Middle East. And when you put the two of them together, you're going, yeah, there's a reason both of these regions are in flux. Europe is an outlier. The problems in Europe are because of the same thing that's the influx from the Middle East that's gone to Europe has created the same problems in Europe that we have in the Middle East that you have in the US now. The same radical Islamic element is now in Europe, is now in the US.
Many of us years ago predicted the balkanization of the United States, and I
Yep.
think that that's entirely possible. You know, you have Gavin Newsom out in California talking about seceding from the United States. Uh, you know, it's I
I
don't have an
don't.
answer for it. All I can do is sit there and say, yeah, okay, we talked about this a long time ago,
Yeah.
and you still continued to let this happen. So here we are.
It surprises me because when you look at Europe, I don't know if you saw the post we did. Europe is now pushing for quicker deportment of Afghanis and illegals
Well,
because they have
I know Germany was. I don't know if the UK
the
is.
entire EU, 20 countries have signed on to an agreement that will be discussed next month, November 3rd or 10th. I can't remember what the exact date was. There's an EU conference of all what in your terms would be the secretaries of state of every country. And it's a 1-point agenda. How do we deport all of these people from our countries?
A little late to be worrying about that.
A little late, yeah. But that's, I mean, everyone's waking up to the mistake now, but fixing the mistake it's not that easy. I mean, Pakistan has been dealing with what was created because of the Mujahideen, and we're 40 years on, and we still haven't solved the problem here. It's gotten worse on our side of the world.
So I'm going to answer a question out of the chat here. Robert Robertson is asking, is it true Qatar is putting an air base in Idaho? I'm going to answer this. I answered it on the last episode that Khalid and I were on. No, they are not putting an air base in Idaho. They are training at an already existing facility. We have been doing this, training foreign people that they buy equipment from us. They have to know how to use it. So we bring them here to our base and we train them here. That is a training facility that they are going to.
Yep. And it's been done with many countries. It's not just Qatar that's doing it, but many countries.
Syria included.
Yep. Syria, Saudi, Kuwait, Pakistanis have come to the US and learned to fly. We've gone to Turkey and learned how to fly different equipment that we bought from various countries. This is standard military practice. The only question that we come off with is how high is the security going to be at Idaho Air Base to keep the Qataris in line so they're not taking pictures and they're not sending things back to people they shouldn't be sending them to.
Well, that's Air Force. Air Force actually has pretty tight security on those bases. So I'd imagine they probably have SIGINT set up and all sorts of things there.
Yeah, without doubt. And Idaho is the perfect place to do it. There's very low population, so you can put up towers that monitor everything that's going on inside the base. Just a question for you, S2. And we've talked about this a few times. And Donald Trump said something about this on the flight back from Israel. He said, I didn't know about Qatar when I was in my first term as president, but now I understand them completely. But if you understand them completely, why are you giving them so much space in the US? Because they're funding so many of your universities, so many of your think tanks. You're giving them the ability to basically create US policy.
What's your question?
Why has Trump not controlled Qatar to the point where he should?
Well, and I can only give the same answer that I've given before, and that's because he likes to be able to keep an eye on where his enemies are. So I'll use a domestic example here. When they announced that Antifa was going to be classified as a domestic terror organization, the immediate thing that happened was that Antifa went underground for a bit. Well, it didn't take long for them to come back out again when they realized that um, there wasn't really an effective plan put into place yet to deal with them. And the way I see things is maybe there was an effective plan put into place, and that threat was meant to send them underground, regroup, and come back, so that way they expose themselves even more. And if it were me, I would actually do something like that. We would go out and put propaganda out there to drive our enemies underground and see what kind of impact that has on them. And
Right.
when they come back out, we know exactly where they are.
Right.
And I'm telling you, without a doubt, our domestic intelligence agencies, law enforcement, we know where these people are. If I have been able to track down 600 of these people in my previous AO on my own, do you think that people with much greater resources than me as a civilian out here would be able to do?
Oh, I agree with you. They know where they are, but my point comes back to
My point is
take
keep your enemies in clear view.
agreed.
If you know where they are, leave them
Yeah,
where they are. If they're not doing any harm at the moment, leave them where they are. But when they act, you know exactly where they are and you know exactly how to deal with them.
true, true. But I think Trump is going to get a little bit more active against Antifa now because Antifa is getting very active in the U.S.
Yep.
Um,
I think they
that
shot
pot-
another. I think they shot a DHS guy or a
U.S. Marshal,
U.S.
U.S.
Marshal.
Marshal.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Right before we went on air, I saw the story go through that illegal. It was no, sorry, it was an illegal that shot a U.S. Marshal, and the U.S. Marshal shot the illegal as well. Both are dead.
Okay.
And that kind of is that escalation we've been talking about. That at some point these are going to go hostile, and now we've gotten to hostile.
Well, that would be a cartel move, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Antifa, obviously, but
Well, with the bounties with all the bounties that have been put out as to, I mean, why wouldn't they? You're getting paid $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 just to kidnap, execute. They're making loads of money for this, and that's all IRGC money.
yeah. Well, they make their money, they go back to wherever they came from, and they live like kings.
Yep, yep, yep. So let's swing around to North America. Canada is becoming a boiling point. I don't know how many people are paying attention to Canada, but Canada's military has been infiltrated by ISIS. We have now tracked 25 serving officers in the Canadian Armed Forces that are ISIS operatives. We've targeted 5 cities: Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg,
Quebec.
Quebec. Yep. These all have active ISIS cells, and they are funneling people into the US from there. A lot of people have in the comments said, what we're doing so much on the southern border, we're not doing anything on the northern border. It's because no one believes they're going to come from Canada. I mean, just like no one believes 9/11 2.0 is going to happen. No one believes terrorists are going to come in from the northern border. They see them coming from the south, but not from the north. And getting the government to wake up to this means that the FBI needs to stop setting people up. So when they're coming across the border, they arrest and go, look, we caught a terrorist, when you're the ones facilitating them. So the real terrorists are slipping through, and the ones that have been entrapped are being caught. So the real terrorists no attention is being paid on the real terrorists. And
Yeah.
thus far, we know of at least 600 ISIS operatives that have come through from the northern border.
I believe that. I was always saying all along, I said, look at the big spectacle they're making on the southern border. What do you think's happening up north?
Yep.
And then very soon after that I made that statement, all of a sudden we started hearing about illegals coming across the border on the
Yep.
northern side, and I tracked the locations of where we were hearing reports of things, and found out that they were actually getting social security numbers in and
Yep.
around Buffalo, New York.
Yep. They're coming through Niagara Falls into Rochester, straight to Buffalo. Yep.
Yeah, and
They're coming
they're
through
in
there.
well, and they're being settled in a lot of different areas. They're it's not random. It's there is a pattern to the way they're being placed.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. What we've seen, because we've been watching Canada for a while now, what we've seen is wherever you move your police force, your immigration force, you leave a hole someplace else, and that hole is being used to funnel people in again. So when you move again, like so far, Seattle, the Washington border has been penetrated very easily. The Michigan border has been penetrated very easily. Rochester is literally a funnel. They're just pouring them down. They are pouring them through the border there, and they're coming in, and they've got a guy they call. We've almost gotten the guy's telephone number to who's facilitating them in Rochester, but he gives them a social security number, and they disappear into public. You don't even know that that's illegal anymore.
Yep.
But the northern border is just going nuts. Mrs. Beanfriend, I heard in the next few weeks, some Aldi's, Walmarts, and some other stores will shut down for a week to take food and other supplies. I haven't heard that. I don't know if you have, S2, but I haven't heard any stores shutting down for any length of time.
To take food and other supplies where?
Yeah, it's a very general question. I don't understand, because I haven't heard where they're shutting these down at. But yeah, they're in Rochester. Yeah, the jihadis are coming through in Rochester, Buffalo. There's a reason, if you have been watching our episodes, there's a reason I keep bringing up Buffalo. I've talked about, let's look at Buffalo as a potential, target of 9/11 2.0. It's because Buffalo has been penetrated. Rochester is a huge camp for Al Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Hamas. They are moving people in very, very easily. No one's watching the northern border.
And then they move them south from there.
Yep. Once they're in, they've got a passport. Once they've got a social security number, they can go anywhere in the U.S. They can get a driver's license. They can do anything then. And they're being properly facilitated through there. When they come through Detroit, they come across they don't come across the Windsor Bridge. They're coming across from Port Huron, where there's not such heavy immigration coverage. If you come across through the Friendship Bridge in Windsor to Detroit, there's immigration like you would not believe there.
Well,
So
you mentioned they're coming down into Washington State. They're coming down through Vancouver for that.
Yep. Seattle. Look, the cities we know that they're penetrating into is Seattle, Detroit, and Rochester, Buffalo. That's where they're pumping people into, and then from there they're moving anywhere they want in the country. The reason that you see the Midwest in such a state of flux is because the amount of people coming in from the northern border, not the southern border, from the northern border, is throwing your entire demographic off. And that's why, Ilhan Omar, is that her name? Ilhan Omar?
Ilhan, yeah.
Yeah, that's why she's gotten so bold, because she knows she has so many people around her now that the demographic has changed.
Well,
But
we'll have to see how that works out.
it's trouble from both borders. I mean, you're protecting the South, you're not protecting the North.
Yeah. Then you got Tampon Tim that's supporting it.
Yeah. Did you see he signed that driver's licenses for all bill?
I skimmed over it. Anytime I see him now, I just makes me want to make memes about him.
Well, the only reason I pay attention to it is because he's facilitating illegals. The more facilities you give them, the easier it becomes for them to create problems. And the more problems they create, the more the U.S. pushes towards civil war.
Well, I think Minnesota's strategy is to become like New York.
Yeah. Mamdani is trouble. He is big trouble.
Yeah.
He is big trouble. That's this losing New York City to a jihadi is the end of the Northeast. That means the Northeast will go. It'll be gone. It will be controlled by jihadis because they have enough cells up there. Taking control is very easy.
Well, I'm hearing that the Democrat Party is not necessarily supporting Mamdani the way they were before.
Well, he's flip-flopping. That's why the Democrats have pulled back, because he was branded as a jihadi and as a what did they call him? There was a phrase they used for him specifically. Then he started to hedge his bets, and he started, changing his political position on certain topics, and he picked up a lot of fans, but he lost Democratic Party support. How much
Yep.
that's going to affect him, I don't know, because
I've also been
Chris-
hearing that the Democratic Socialists are not happy with him at all either.
because he's left the socialism platform. He's looking now. He's playing
They're
the
worried
same
about-
game.
they're worried about him becoming a capitalist,
Yep.
being enticed into being a capitalist, which he already is. He
Yeah.
already is. He comes from a wealthy family. He already
Yeah.
is a capitalist.
Yep. That's the part people don't realize. I mean, even with Ilan Umar, she didn't come as a refugee. She escaped justice in Somalia. Her family was part of government, and they ran away from justice. She is not, poor. She's not a refugee. Mamdani is the same thing. I would call Mamdani Barack Obama 3.0.
All communist leaders come from wealthy families. They always have. And then
Always
they
have.
turn around and try to make themselves out to sound like, oh, I came from a sharecropper's family in the South. Yeah,
Oh.
no.
It's a good narrative. I mean, it sells, but when you start scratching that narrative, you find the mistake. And people aren't scratching. They're not digging into them, because everyone's so afraid of Islamophobia. And again, I come back to that statement. Put the political correctness aside and start looking at people for what they are. Because if you play political correctness, the US is gone. The way of life that you have in the US, it is gone.
Yep.
But no, Mamdani is dangerous. He is very dangerous, because that means you will lose Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, and parts of Pennsylvania will go as well, because they'll be able to use him as a buttress to negotiate if they can turn him into one of their proper agents. And he's about 90% there already. And it's just making sure that he gets the last 10% to make sure that he can achieve what the Democratic Party wants. And I think if he gets one big Democratic donor, he'll flip back to the Democratic Party.
Yep. And then he will not be in good standing with with the socialists, because he's not radical enough.
Yep. Yeah, but just as to, I mean, let's play the what if game again. Let's say he's courting all of these different groups, and he's getting all this money for himself to run his campaign. And then once he gets into office, he becomes that socialist that everybody wants him to be. There's nothing stopping him from doing that.
No.
Because it again, part of the political radical Islam that these guys are pushing in the US is allowing them to lie. And lie to this guy, lie to this guy, lie to this guy, and you have control. You get elected. Once you're in office, you can be anybody you want to be.
Yep. Well, that's what we see all the time.
But it's just unbelievable. And as you start coming south from New York, and it's something we brought up in an episode before, that when you look at all the hoax incidents, bomb threats, schools, all of that, they are all on the East Coast. There's very little going on the West Coast. They have complete confidence in the West Coast that they can achieve what they want to achieve in the West Coast. Everything is being tested on the East Coast, which means the East Coast is East Coast to Midwest. That's your target. That's your target lane for 9/11 2.0, in my opinion, because the amount of data we've been looking at and the amount of threats that we're looking at, the threat matrix we're looking at, is all East Coast. And
Well, say what you want. the everybody talks about Silicon Valley out in California and everything. That is not the financial capital of the United States.
Nope.
The East Coast is.
Yep. And your tech capital is already controlled by India. I mean, you already have your plants there. So I mean, Silicon Valley is got so many Indians there that India is already, you know, anti-US because of Trump's tariffs. Getting them to swing and join in with whatever's going on the East Coast is to their benefit.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. But yeah, John, you're right. Rochester really fits the 2.0 profile. And if you think about it, we put Rochester in our list. A lot of the things that we've been talking about over the past couple of months on Survival Dispatch, you're seeing happening right in front of you. That's why we're quiet on what's going on. We're talking about how to counteract what's going on, because everything that we saw is happening. And Christmas, I don't know, because the date is middle December when this thing is going to kick off. I don't know if Christmas is going to happen or New Year's is going to happen. I go back to a statement that Donald Trump made. He may be the last president of the United States. And I don't think he made that statement just offhand. And he said it a few times, that he may be the last president of the United States. He's not saying that just because.
I'll make this statement. Christmas happens regardless of anything.
Yeah, well, Christmas happens in a home. I mean, that's you
No,
celebrate Christmas however you want.
Christmas as it's symbolic happens regardless of anything else.
Yeah, but look, I'm not talking about the religious symbolism of Christmas. I'm talking about the commercial symbolism of Christmas. Because the religious, you can never eliminate the religious side of Christmas. That is Jesus's birth. That never changes. But when people ask me about Christmas, I go straight to the commercial side. That, are you going to be able to have Christmas like that? I don't think so.
We will have to wait and see.
Yeah. But the way things are moving, as to, you and I both see the pattern starting to develop. Whether it be a civil war, whether it be low intensity conflict, or whether it be 9/11 2.0. And God forbid all three of them happening at the same time, because that will put the US into a lot of pain. And
1,000 little wars.
Yeah. And
So,
everything is happening. So I think that covers all the way up to the US. We've rolled it around. We've left South America out. We haven't talked about Venezuela and the narco states.
that's another show.
Yeah, that's another show. I mean, what we covered tonight, that was a lot. So I'm going to kick back to you.
Okay. We're going to do the conflicted question. Here we go. And before I do this, I want everybody in the chats to hit that thumbs up or like button or whatever platform you're on that has a button that says you like what we did. At any rate, here goes the conflicted question, and we want to see your responses in the chat. After being taken captive, along with his son, Gordon begins to form a plan to regain his freedom. There were armed men on watch at all times, and the compound he was at was in severe lockdown. If you were in a similar situation, how would you begin to formulate a plan to escape?
Well, first thing is figuring out how many guards there are between you and the exit point. What kind of weapons they have, how you can get a weapon away from one of them so that you can use it for your escape. What the best time is when security is the lowest that you can get out. And then getting out and then finding a way to get the hell away from that compound as quick as you can, because once you're out of that compound, you don't have much time left. You've got to get moving quick. That's two.
So my approach to this is similar to yours. I am going to do my recon by observing patterns. I want to know all of those things. When is security the lowest? Who's the least out of shape guy that's on duty at that point in time? Where is he being posted? I want to start making friends with the guards, not because they're the ones that are going to give you that intel if you ask the right questions at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I will start observing the weaponry, of course. You could probably gain intel about where their weapons are stored, where their ammunition is stored. It depends on where they're holding you. If you're being held in an area that doesn't have any line of sight to those things, you may be limited and dependent upon what information you could. You may be dependent upon what intel you can get based on what the guards can give you.
Right.
But beyond that, I would make my if they were holding me with my son or separate from my son, I would also have to make plans to get him out at the same time as well.
Yeah.
So
What would you use for distractions? Would you set their weapons depot on fire? What would you use for distractions? Because if you got to get your son out, you're obviously not going to be held together. I mean, think about that. The mental torture of having you guys separated. They're not going to put you together. They're going to put you separate, because that's another level of torture.
I'd set their vehicles on fire, limiting their ability to follow me.
Okay. Because that thought popped into my head. I was like, wait a minute, how are you going to distract these guys when you go to pick up your child?
We level the playing field. If I'm on foot, you're on foot, and I'm dropping some surprises behind me as I go too.
Yeah, and you Marines are good at the dropping surprises. That I know. That I know. So
right. I'm not seeing a lot of answers in the chats here.
No, everyone's talking about other stuff, so we'll leave it to them to have their conversations. Nick, let's do the hero of the day. I still say, listen, Dean, if you're watching, make that video again and add a John Madden at the end where he goes boom, because that without the boom at the end, it's halfway. So if you're watching, Dean, add that in there, because it's the addition. This happened I think it was on a subway. This guy stood up to them. This one passenger stood up to a bully that was harassing an elderly guy on public transport and prevented a violent assault. His action reminds us that it only takes one person to stand up to stop something bad from happening. And that it's something we've got to start thinking about as 9/11 2.0 is getting closer, that one person can make a difference. And everyone needs to think about that.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
I killed my mom and dad, nigga. Are you proud of that? In front of everybody, I'll blow your face off right now. I'm ready anytime, man. I got 100 witnesses saying you just threatened this old man right here. Telling him that if he touches you, you're gonna f him. Exactly. This is a subway. We all touch each other. I'm telling you, you ain't me. That's what I'm telling you. You ain't nobody with me standing right here. That's what's happening. I don't care if you're gay. You can be gay. Good. Everybody knows you're gangster now. So why don't you sit the f down and shut the f up? I just came home.
How many people actually stand up like that? I still remember. Do you remember Bernard Goetz on the New York subway that shot the I think it was 5 people?
It rings a bell.
That was one guy that stood up and said, no, I'm not going to tolerate this. And there are so few people nowadays that do it. But that belief needs to come back. That not to kind of date myself, but that gumption needs to come back in people, that, one person can make a difference. And that changes things when somebody stands up.
Yes, it does. It's also contagious. Yeah.
Guts is something that is contagious. When they see one person stand up, everybody starts, having a little bit of guts to stand up with. I think we've got one more user submitted video of the day from Stephanie. And this is about Antifa rioters shooting munitions at ICE agents.
No, it's perfectly peaceful.
No, there's
perfectly
no
peaceful.
Antifa. There's no Antifa. No. There's no such thing as Antifa. Who's doing all this violence? I mean, come on.
No, even though we've seen this before, I mean,
Yeah.
they modify fireworks mortar shells. I think they just cut the fuse short on them is all they do, turn them into grenades. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. It's peaceful.
Yeah, this is peaceful. Wait till you see what peaceful doesn't look like. I just I, I I'm still waiting because Chris made a comment during one of the broadcasts. He said, we are going to see police officers shooting police officers, blue on blue shooting. We're going to see because of this crap that's going on, and it's getting closer because the U.S. Marshal getting shot today. That's step one.
Let Antifa shoot one more cop and kill him. He didn't kill the last one they shot, but let them shoot and kill one. Cops do not put up with that crap, and they will be on the hunt for them.
Yep, that is true. That is true. That is true. So, S2, do you have anything to wrap up tonight before I close the show?
No, my brain is sufficiently fried. Thank you.
All right. That gives us, another episode under the belt here. I hope you guys enjoy the Command 11 sit rep. We've changed the format from being all links to conversation between me and S2, trying to get you more information and more discussion so you understand what's happening, how it's happening. If you like the format, please do let us know that you like the way this format works so we can keep it going on Tuesday nights for you. A lot of thanks for Carnival, Dean, if you're watching. I'm still waiting for my first Carnival shipment because I've heard so much great stuff about Carnival that my mouth literally waters when I hear people talking about what they've cooked and how they've cooked. And Mike Glover's video made me want it even more. So I'm still waiting, Dean. So if you guys are interested in getting Carnival, I think it's Eat Meat is our code. The Survival Dispatch code gives you 10% off your purchase. CCW Safe, if you are a firearms owner, get real insurance. Don't get the stuff that everyone else is pumping out to you. Me being someone who carries a weapon, when I come back to the US, CCW Safe is who I'm signing up with, because if I have to pull my weapon and fire and, God forbid, battlefield execution, I want to make sure that I'm protected in the courtrooms and I don't come out with a problem. So if you're a two-way guy or a two-way gal, look into CCW Safe. We are very proud of the service they offer to all of our members. And with that, we will sign off for tonight. Tomorrow night is Back to the Long War series. Mike Glover will be with us for the second hour. And for the rest of the week, it's Long War. And on Sunday night, it is the zany episode with Chris and I. All videos to make you laugh, because we talk about such serious stuff during the week. We want to give you a relax before we kick into the serious stuff. So Sunday nights, 7:00 on seaheaven.substack.com. So with that, that's us for tonight. And enjoy the closing video. God bless America.
Hoorah.
This SDN Threat Wire covers critical information from Sarah Adams. If you find yourself on the X during a terrorist attack, whether you're a first responder or a regular person caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Wave 1 response: what to do when an attack begins. Understanding the waves from the Hamas attack in 2023 could literally save your life. This first wave of terrorist attacks may involve IEDs, suicide bombers, vehicle rammings, coordinated attacks by trained active shooters, or the downing of airliners. Act as if the worst-case scenario is unfolding. So, when what feels like Wave 1 hits, what should you do? For everyday Americans, not in a first responder role, there is only one immediate goal: get off the X. Move away from the scene, or, if you are not near the initial attack, return home and go into lockdown. Find a secure structure or locked room. Assume more attackers are coming. It is likely not safe to render aid. Do not touch unattended items. Move others quickly and calmly. Take essentials only. Log off social feeds immediately and any live streams. Verify anyone claiming to be police. For our friends in law enforcement. 1. Assume you're the target. 2. Have markings to identify one another. And do not post what they are under this. 3. Prior red teaming should have identified routine law enforcement habits visible during pre-surveillance that terrorists could exploit, change them. 4. Add multiple small movements or disturbances meant to mask larger movements. 5. Control scene density to avoid being a secondary target. 6. Check beyond the obvious, there will be IEDs, plan for it. Do not attempt render safe unless certified. 7. Be aware of sticky bombs. If something is attached to a vehicle/door, back away and do not try to dislodge adhesives or magnets. 8. For suicide bombers, 1, 2, or 3 responders max control the arms, take them to the ground to limit blast radius and/or handle with lethal force to the cranium. 9. Please treat any bomb as containing caustic materials and handle initially as hazmat. 10. Employ a verification system for friendly arriving forces. 11. Enforce communications discipline and use predetermined phrasing to mask actions. Attackers will attempt to monitor and exploit your response. 12. Medical staging and evacuation routing must be planned with contingencies for secondary and tertiary attack waves. 13. Rapid correction of misinformation must occur regarding what the public is seeing and hearing. Make sure you follow Sarah on X at TPA Sarah. This SDN Threat Wire is brought to you by our friends at Carnival. 100% premium freeze-dried beef, chicken, and pork. Get 10% off with code EATMEAT at carnival.com. Clean fuel for dangerous times.